And welcome to Witch Chat Chats. Come on in and sit for a spell. We are sponsored by Evermoving We Rise and Moonlight Potions and Charms. I am your amazing goddess host, Miss Nikki Kirby, and we have our wonderful, our absolutely fantastic co-host, Saul Ravencraft. How you doing, Saul?
To be honest, I'm a little stupefied today. It's been a crazy set of days. Thursday, I was at Curia, Arcanum doing the spirit session workshop there. Friday, I was at Mama Merlot's, the underground speakeasy, doing a spirit session there. Saturday, I did 3 hours of back-to-back readings for a Halloween festival in Marble Falls. Sunday, I was back at Mama Merlot's, and last night, I was back in Marble Falls. And I am just, I'm a little used up right now, to be honest. Ain't enough chocolate in the world at the moment. But I'm here. I'm here. And to make it all more fun, I have a little clock that I use to keep track of time when I'm doing an event. And somehow the alarm got turned on for that and went off at 6 in the morning for no apparent reason. And it wasn't even an alarm that I knew, so suddenly there's beeping going on, and I have to go find the clock and then figure out how to turn it off, because I've never used the alarm on this clock before. So yeah, I'm a little weird today. So don't ask me for anything mentally strenuous. I got nothing.
Well, you know what? On Samhain Eve, which is what they originally call the 31st, I go to my altar and I'm fixing to do my ritual, my personal private ritual. And I noticed that my Hecate candle it's just got a little bit of wax at the bottom. And so I'm like, And this is like at, after 9 o'clock at night. And I'm like, okay, that's enough to do the ritual. No big deal. No big deal. The thing about conjure is that if it's got a little bit of wax in it, you can always keep it left over. And depending on the purpose of the candle, you can use it in other types of spells. A lot of times people put it in like mojo bags and stuff like that. But me, I kind of like to use that. I like to have all the wax out most of the time, because I like to just have it cleansed out. And trying to get that wax out you have to put it in the freezer, and I don't have a big freezer, so that goes to a whole new level, right? So I'm like, it's a little tiny bit wax. So I told her, I said, I will make you a new one the next morning. Not a big deal, right?
Right.
So here I am, I'm trying to light that thing. Nope. My lighter, my big lighter that I had just bought, won't light that sucker. I tried 3 times. Look, no, won't do it. I mean, the thing is lit like this side, out. And then I put it in the thing, boom, comes out every single time. So I'm like, okay. So I get one of these long matches, right?
Right.
Put it all the way down. Motherfucker goes out. So I'm like, ugh. And so I try it again, and it lights. I'm like, awesome. Lights up. I make my offerings to her and everything. And as soon as I make my offerings, zip, it goes out. And she tells me, I want a brand new candle. It still got that little bit. And I'm like, and by this time it's like 9:45, and I told her, I said, I just make it in the morning. You know, I got the ingredients I got to get. She's like, as soon as you get the ingredients, it only takes you about 5 minutes to make me one. And I'm like, but I got to get, and she's like, I don't want to hear it. Make me a damn candle. And I'm like, but, and she's like, don't give me no damn excuses. Don't make me a damn candle. You know, Hecate is a dark goddess, and she is the queen of witchcraft. She is the mother dragon. She's the queen of crossroads, okay?
Right.
This is her night. This is one of her nights of the year. And I'm like, okay. So here I go. I walk out of my room, go through the living room, and my mom's like, I thought you went to bed. And I'm like, yeah, and I got to go please a goddess. And she's like, what? And so I go back into my office, which my brother has claimed as his bedroom. You know, going through there, trying to get all the ingredients and everything. And I'm making this thing. I'm glad that I've already pre-done all the labels. And so I've made it out and everything. When I do my personal candles versus the candles that I make for my clients, I put a lot more ingredients in there. Of course, everybody does, you know. And I make it nice and sparkly and all that other stuff. And then I put all that ingredients back, and then I bring it all back. And my mom's like, whoa, did you just tell me you're making this candle? And by this time, it's after 10, okay? It's like 10:30. And she's like, did you tell me you're making this candle for a goddess? I'm like, yes, Mom, I'm making this candle. Tonight's her night. And I didn't know that her candle had already burned down. Okay. And she's like, well, what's she going to do to this? I said, Mom, it's what she's going to do to me. Okay. She will F me up. Okay. I'm not allowed to say the F word more than once because of Facebook. Okay. So anyway, and my mom's looking at me like I'm out of my mind, of course, because she's not one of us. So and I'm like, don't ask questions that you don't want the answers to, okay? Because you're not going to understand anyway, and I don't have time to explain. Just, I'm going to give you a kiss on your forehead and just let it go. It's just like, okay. And so I go back into my room. I place and my dog's looking at me like, where did you go? And I'm like, Daisy. And she's like, okay. And so I put it right back onto I replaced it. And then I went on with my ritual. And everything went fine.
Very nice. Yeah,
there are some goddesses that will do that to you.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a good thing that I actually had the candle to be able to do that with. Because I don't think that a substitution of a small candle would have done.
Right. Right.
No, they can be stickler sometimes. I swear.
I've been doing some work with candle manipulation, and one of the things that I found for cleaning out jars is I'll put them in the oven at about 200 degrees, and that's about the melting point of the wax. So it doesn't get super hot, but it's hot enough for the wax. And I'm able to put multiple candles in there together and melt them and pull the wax out. Or if I'm trying to reclaim a jar, I can do it upside down. Now, anytime you heat anything up, there's a risk. Of course, anytime you freeze it, there's a risk. It just depends on the solidity of the jar. So, you have to exercise caution. with that. But I found that I was able to just put them in the oven and keep it at a low temperature. It was funny. My oven, when you turn it on, it starts at 300 degrees, and I'd never tried to turn it down before, so I wasn't sure that I was going to be able to do it. But it turns out that I could turn it down. So that's interesting. One of the other things I've noticed is some candle makers appear to whip air into the wax, because when you melt the wax down, it loses volume.
Mm-hmm. That's where those little bubbles come from, honey.
Well, but some things are obvious to you that are new to me. So,
all right. So, where are you going to be? I know you're still doing that Arcadium, right?
At the arcade, yes. I'm
Arcadium.
moving back into my regular activities with Curia Arcanum's House of Curiosities. I'll be restarting the broadcast on Thursday evenings there, and we're going to find out. Thursdays are often very slow, although that may change a little bit during some of the vacation times that people are taking as we get into holiday season. Some people get a lot of time off in November and December and visit around. But I'm also going to try and be there on Saturdays in addition to Sundays. We're just seeing what all is possible with my schedule, because getting in December, there's activity that comes up as well. So, but October is done. All of the craziness that made it difficult to do things regularly in October are completed. And probably the best thing to do is follow me on Facebook. If you look up Saul Ravencraft, Executive Occultist, you'll find my Facebook page, and I do try to keep things there. But if you go to saulravencraft.com, right there at the front page, there is a link that takes you to the wonderfully weird world of Saul Ravencraft. And that's where I'm keeping track of the different things that I've got going on with links to that. So that's something to keep track of as well. And also on the website, there's a place where you can get on the mailing list. I'm still doing some old-fashioned direct emails. If you were on it, you would have gotten my Halloween greeting. If you're not on it, you didn't get that. But the interesting thing is, through the end of the week, if you sign up, that you'll get that email. So that'll prove to you that everything's working. And I'm not real spammy about things. I often forget to send emails. Right? So you don't have to worry about being overwhelmed. I'm not going to be selling you things every day or anything like that. It's a pretty safe email list to be on. But you do get some inside stuff that is only available to subscribers. So check that out. And so, right now this week, I'm taking a big old breath and getting things put back into place. And then we'll see where things go. There's some stuff bouncing around, and I'm hoping to bring it all to fruition. So you want to be in? You want to be in on that? Now, you've always got a ton of stuff going on. What's going on with you, Nikki?
Well, for me, there's a lot of things going on, of course. Now, with Evermoving We Rise, we do have a new moon ritual that's going to be on the 21st. The thing about the 21st is I will not be there, but we will have a guest high priestess. Her name is MJ, and she is a marvelous person. And she will be doing our new moon ritual for us, as I will be away. So I do still encourage people to come, and they will have a absolute beautiful, beautiful new moon ritual. And I just wish I could be there, but I'm not going to be able to. But I know people are looking forward to it, and we're getting very excited about it. So make sure you go to the Facebook page, and you'll be able to see everything about it. So that is with Evermoving We Rise, with Moonlight Potions and Charms. We do have a lot of new things that are going to be happening there. We actually do have some St. Francis kits that you can be able to put onto your pets, whether it's a dog or whether it's a cat. These little St. Francis medals that you can put on their collars for protection. We do have those that's going to be done, and a couple of other new things that are coming out. And don't forget about our readings that we have, our ancestor readings. As this is November, it doesn't matter. It's not October, but we still have November. November is a ancestor month, especially with the first week that's going by and the second week. And we also have, this is Hecate's month as well. And she also is a daughter of the crossroads as well. So this is a good time to be able to get down with your ancestors and see what important messages they may have for you. And our amazing tarot readings that we have as well. So make sure you check those out and check out all the new things that we have. And let's see what else we got. Oh, I have to take a drink for this. With Wish Chat Chats, we are absolutely going places, and we're everywhere. We're on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts. So subscribe to us, follow us, like our pages, download our episodes. Hell, take us with you on the go. You can always go to our link tree to find out where we are, because you never know where Saul and I will be. Ooh, sounds so spooky. And our one big announcement that we've got, Saul, don't you know what that is?
What is that, Nikki?
Manifestasia 2023. Yes.
It returns.
We are going to have so much fun. It's going to be January 21st and 22nd of 2023. And the tickets go on sale December 1st. And you don't want to miss it this year.
We've really taken a look at what went on in the last Manifestasia and used that to factor in to what is going to be happening in 2023. There were things that people really appreciated about how the event worked, and we've tried to focus more on those aspects and to set aside those things that weren't necessarily as valuable. For example, one of the things that we're doing is we are not having vendors. No vendors. No, the vendors are going to be sponsors, because it turns out that if you are a vendor at an online event, you kind of sit in the dark waiting for people to come into your little space. I've seen it at several events. I've participated in events where I experienced this. And we want our we want our vendors to be connecting with everybody. So we moved it over to a sponsorship. The vendors are going to be right there with everybody. There will be ads and there will be specials available to insiders, but it won't be the kind of thing where someone has to sit off to the side. It'll be fully functional. We're going to have the lounges like we did before, where you're going to be able to spend some time talking to speakers or duck in with a few friends to have a private conversation. We are leaving a little space in the schedule for that kind of interaction to happen. It's not going to be as stuffed as it is, because the social aspect is a very important part of it all. And we may have some social stuff going on in the evening for you to enjoy, where you just get to kind of hang out. So it's going to be better. It's going to be more of what you want. Manifestasia 2023, you got to do it.
Got to, because we've got a lot of changes that we've done, and it's going to be so much more manifestation.
Absolutely.
All right. So, Saul, I know we have another announcement that we must make.
All right, go for it.
All right. So, we know that people, in order to make change, you need to exercise your right to vote. So, we at Witch Hat Chats encourage you that if you haven't registered and you can still register to vote, please vote. And vote. You need to spell the vote. You need to spell the vote, because we both already have voted. And you can't turn around and change the world, and you can't complain if you haven't voted.
This is true. This is true. You got to have skin in the game.
Yep.
And one of the things we talk about repeatedly on this program is that magic is not something passive. Manifestation is not something passive. You don't light the candle and sit by the phone eating bonbons, waiting for that stuff to come, right? You gotta get your hands dirty. You gotta put your skin in the game. You gotta do the work. And one of the things to think about right now is if there's anything you need to do to make it possible for you to participate in the vote. Do you know where you're going to vote? Do you know when you're going to vote? Are there any details you need, paperwork or anything like that? There are a lot of situations where even if you're not registered, that you can go in with the right paperwork and they'll just set you up. So know what you need to do. Do you need someone to help you with kids? Do you need someone to help you with transportation? Is there some way that you can help someone with their kids or their transportation? There's lots that can be done. And if you're thinking, I don't think I'm going to be able to vote. No, there is a way but you gotta do what you need to do. Right? You got to prepare for that. Just like you would prepare for Samhain or any other major ritual that you wanted to do, treat voting as though it is an important ritual to work magic. And the way you're going to do it is you're going to go and you're going to put your ballot in, and you're going to do that. The other thing I want to say here, all right? There are some assholes out there that are trying to intimidate people against casting their lawful vote. They're there looking all tough with their weapons and their costumes, right? I'm going to call them costumes. That's really what they are. They're Halloween gone amok, all right? And they're going to watch you. They're going to watch you cast your vote, right? Well, let them. Yeah, you let them watch you cast your vote, because it's your right to cast your vote. You cast your vote, you give them the finger, and you let your voice be heard.
That's the one in the middle when you do your Boy Scout thing, okay? That's the one in the middle, okay?
You just peel that banana down and no, but don't let these people intimidate you, because that's what they're counting on. They don't think you have the guts. And they are counting on that. They are counting on just their attitude and their presence to make you afraid because of how they judge you. And we cannot let this happen, right? If you got to have a buddy to go with you to make you feel better, hell, if you want a dozen of you to go together, make it a voting party, right? Be freaky with it. It's fine. But do not let these people intimidate you.
Right.
It's being treated like it's free speech. Well, okay, fine. It gets countered. Because I'll tell you honestly that while they're looking all tough, they don't have the guts to stop you from voting.
Right.
They really don't. They're ultimately cowards when it comes to that level.
And the thing I'm going to say is, this is what I do. And I tell people, the more intimidated that you're trying to do, the more wild I become. That's the way I am. You try to intimidate me, the worse I get. Is the way I am. And one other thing we're going to say, and then we're going to move on to the divination, is that do your research on your candidates. Make sure you do thorough research, because there is a lot of lies that's going around. Just make sure you do your research. Okay?
I want to recommend a site for people that are trying to keep track of everything, to do their research. It's called Ballotpedia. Ballot like a ballot, and pedia like an encyclopedia. And they have sample ballots so you can see what's on the ballot in your area. There are links to the options on there and explanations. It's a great place to start, and it will also help point you to other information. I've been using it for a while, and I love it. It's hard to do good research now, because there's just so much noise going on, and people can just say whatever they want to. So you have to track it down. Go back and look at our episode where we talked to our journalist friend and talked about reliable news resources and how to tell what is a good news resource. We did that in the Witch's Cabinet at the end of that program. It sucks to have to do that, but it's worth it. It's worth it. And the better you get at it, the harder it will be for people to fool you and manipulate you about what's going on, and having you do things out of fear instead of out of power.
Yep. All right. So you spelled the vote. And now, do you want to know what our divination is?
Always.
All right. So people know that I usually drink yogi tea, but today I'm drinking Earl Grey green tea. That's what I'm drinking today.
All right. Nothing wrong with that.
So I decided I'm going to go online and I'm going to get a good one today. So a wise man once said, quote, "Bees don't waste their time explaining to flies their honey is better than shit," unquote. So, Saul, in your wise words, what does that mean to you?
Well, that's extremely relevant right now. I'm dealing with some issues. Since I've gotten a little bit of visibility, I've suddenly had to deal with some attacks that have been surprising. And one of the things that I've realized is I've engaged it a little bit, made sure that I understand what they're talking about, and that I don't agree with their conclusions. But when it starts moving into the persuasion game, I'm just blocking, just not gonna engage any further. I don't have to. You don't have to bring those people into your living room, even if you're a public person. You don't have to encounter that kind of stuff. And I think one of the other important things out of that is that for the flies, the shit is their honey. Right?
Right.
And it's important to understand that everyone is going to have a different point of view. And for the bees, the honey is the honey. And for the flies, the shit is the shit. Right? And while you don't have to engage or have this fight about people that are coming at things from another perspective, I think you still have to understand that, one, everybody gets to exist. Even if they're annoying, they get to exist. And that they get to think their thoughts and live their life and do their thing. The one thing that we got to be cautious of is when that starts to turn into harm. Right? You can think your weird thoughts and in your home and do all that, and that's fine. When it starts coming to my doorstep and it starts creating violence, it starts doing things that inhibit or oppress me, well, then there is no agree to disagree, right? So everybody gets to do their thing, but you don't get to oppose it on everybody else. You can offer it. Maybe they'll take it. But you know, you have to no means no. Right? Consent is mandatory. And we're talking about this with some ideas as well. And that gets hard because there are some ideas that I think can agree are pretty concrete. You know, gravity is. It's not just a good idea, it's the law. And so there are some things that, in order to function in society and live in our age, you probably need to connect with. But if for whatever reason you won't connect, I don't think we can force people to believe or understand things. We can do damage control. So those are the thoughts that come out of that. I know I wasn't supposed to respect the shit, but
Well,
I can't help it.
Here's the thing. I don't have to value your opinion.
And often you don't.
And here's the thing. If you value their opinion, that means that matters to you. If it doesn't matter to you, it's like when people say, I don't like you. I just grin. And I said, oh, that's okay, honey. Everybody knows you don't have good taste. No big deal. It's okay. It's okay, sweetie. Because I don't value that. I don't care.
Well, and it's hard to do that in an age where social media encourages us to, get those likes
No.
and get that validation.
Honey, that's the thing. People, that is what society says. Society says, oh, we have to be in a community where we have to like, and that's okay. No. Now we're in a community where there is things that, yes, we have to be able to get along to a certain degree. But there's also a point in your life in which you can only go so far to where it becomes harmful to you.
Right.
Okay. You have to figure out where's your boundary. You have to put your feet in the sand and say, you're not crossing it. And I don't care. And you have to stick to that boundary. Because if you don't stick to that boundary, people are going to run over you again and again and again. And that is what has caused this society to become the way it is, because we have allowed it again and again and again and again, over and over and over. What's happening is there are certain minority groups that are saying, we're not doing that anymore. No, it's not okay for certain minority groups to be able to be killed in the streets by certain other people and be pushed under the rug. That's not okay anymore. And it wasn't okay in the first place.
Right.
Okay? That is what we're doing now. Because we finally have gotten sick and tired. We've got our boundaries. They've been crossed and they've been crossed and they've been crossed, and we're stopping it. They finally have decided it's enough, and this is our voice. Women, we are the worst because we are taught we have to be proper. We have to be nice. We cannot say that. No, that is not a proper lady. Bullshit. Hell with that. I don't care. Mm-mm.
Right.
I'm sorry, but if you're going to sit here and tell me to my face that you don't like me, and you're not going to give me a reason, you don't like me because I put this on top of my head, or because of my spiritual beliefs, or because I don't do the same crap that you do, I don't go to your church, or because I'm not the same political party that you are, or because I don't make the same amount that you do, or whatever the stupid crap is, I don't drive the same damn car, or whatever the hell it is, that's fine. I don't give a damn. But that doesn't stop me from doing what I'm going to do. And if you're brave enough to say it to my face, and you don't think that I should say something back to you, I'm supposed to just sit here and take it because I'm supposedly beneath you. I can be nice and I can be just as snotty as you can be, honey, because I am Southern and we're taught to be snotty too. Okay? So I'm being very, very nice when I say, that's okay, honey. We know you don't have good taste.
Bless their hearts.
Bless your little freaking heart. Okay? And to me, that's as nice as I'm going to get. It's just like when people say, I want an apology from you. You know, my dad knows now, well, he knew when I was 12, I was told to apologize to my half-sister. And what she did was, I was raised to not touch anybody's things unless I asked permission. That's what I was taught. And I was staying at his house, and my half-sister was touching the one thing that my mother had saved up. And at the time, it was a brand new CD boombox. You guys remember those? You know, the CD where it pops up and everything. And I had one CD, and my mother had bought it for me. You know, they don't have those things now. But I brought it with me, and it was my prized possession, 12 years old. And so we had to share a room with my half-sister. And my half-sister and I are only a few months apart. Okay? And so I never touched her stuff. I didn't touch anything hardly in that house unless I asked permission, because that's the way I was brought up. So I come into the room one day, and my half-sister decides that she's going to touch everything. And she was playing with blocks. And I asked her what she was doing with it. You know, and she said, well, it's in my room, so I declare this to be mine. Now, I wasn't as nice back then as I am now. Okay. Now I'm a very much of a sweetheart compared to what I was back then. And we got into this argument, and I ended up calling her a bitch. Okay. Oh my God. She started to, and she ran out of the room. Oh my God. Ran to my stepmaster. And to my dad. And of course, they come into the room. And my dad's going on. And I told him what was going on. And of course, my sister's like, she got me at the and my sister said, you should apologize to your sister. And I looked at my dad, and he's like, yes, I agree. You should apologize to your sister. And I looked at her and I said, do you want an apology? And she says, yes. And I looked up at him. I said, are you sure? An apology. And he said, yes. You really need to apologize to your sister. And I said, okay. And I looked in Amber's eyes, and I said, Amber, I'm sorry you're such a bitch. And I walked out. So, so when it comes to apologies, he's never asked me to apologize ever again. So now that we have explained what today's divination is, we really need to take a short break and listen to our wonderful sponsors. Have you wondered what spirituality is? Spirituality is limitless, as it does not contain any boundaries on beliefs or practices. Spirituality's most important component is personal experience and allows one to explore it freely. Evermoving We Rise is a spiritual moving tradition, as our name is our lifestyle, because we are persistently rising and moving forward. We realize that everyone's spiritual journey is extremely personal, but more easily traveled with reinforcement. We'll teach you to become friends with your shadow, emerge your authentic self, and give you time and space to develop your own spirituality. And when situations bump back, you'll have the entire community behind you, as we are a magical family who work to sustain each other. Discover the benefits of working within a society dedicated to helping you grow on your personal path. Visit us on our website, Linktree, or Facebook page, and discover why we don't fit in the box. Behind the door, and ye should find the return of the Barebone Trio. See no evil, hear no evil, and speak no evil, skeletons. This Barebone Trio reminds us not to take life too seriously and shows us the sense of humor we all have. Each one crafted with specific detail and are great for the Day of the Dead, your ancestor altar, Halloween, Samhain, Hecate, and the possibilities are limitless. And there is so much more in our wicked store to help you to embrace the power of your own magic. So come on in to Moonlight Potions and Charms at www.moonlightpotionscharms.com and discover the wicked things that ignite the magical passion in you.
At Witch Hat Chats, we promote magical knowledge, arts, and music from all cultures. We invite you to join us as our guest to share your practice, especially if your traditions are lesser known. Email us at witchhatchats@gmail.com. Tune in every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on our Facebook page.
And welcome back to Witch Hat Chats. I'm Saul Ravencraft. I'm here with Miss Nikki Kirby, and we're here in our first broadcast in November as we speed toward the end of the year.
You know, you want to get to the end of the year faster than anybody I know.
I don't necessarily, but I do notice the acceleration. It just seems to go faster and faster and faster.
It does, doesn't it? All right. So I think we have somebody in the back that we need to bring forward.
Let's bring them in.
All right. So, an author and lover of all creatures. This guest host has been around dragons since she was a child. Man, that's a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Don't you think? She has written several books, including the Dragon's Keeper's Handbook, which I actually have over there, and A Dragons for Beginners. Her latest creation, The Tarot of Dragons, reveals the marvelous and fantastical world of dragons like you have never seen before. And it's actually a really wonderful, wonderful tarot deck. We'd like to welcome my friend, a fellow dragon expert, Shawn MacKenzie. How are you doing, Shawn?
I'm doing fine. Thank you, Nikki and Saul, for inviting me. This is delightful. And forgive my cats who may Yes. Okay. All right, there we go. Let's try that again.
That's all right. We welcome all the animals.
I'm sure she'll be back. So I'm so delighted you were enjoying the tarot. It was a real wonderful project to work on, and one of those things which I don't know. I've been reading the tarot since I was in my 20s, so we're talking 45 years or so. And yet doing this project came at just the right time where I felt that I know enough to have done it justice right now about both the tarot and about dragons, which so was one of those very fortuitous convergences, as it were.
And looking at your tarot deck, I get a little picky when people do novelty tarot decks.
Yeah.
Not saying that this is a novelty deck, but you know the kinds of decks I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
Where,
I do too.
where
yeah.
it's really it's an art deck, and they don't touch on the symbols. They don't really seem to understand. One of the ones that surprised me was Guillermo del Toro's tarot, which I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is going to be amazing.
Right.
And for me, it was an art deck. It didn't connect in any way to what I already knew. And I find that there were several cards that I looked at that I recognized the original ideas underneath it within your realization. The symbolism was still there, just reimagined. And I appreciate that. That's necessary to me if I'm going to use a deck. The symbolism has got to speak out. So kudos to you for doing that.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, this new trend I see of sort of every new film that comes out or every new fad suddenly gets a tarot deck. And it's a lot, yeah, like you say, it seems a lot more that they're simply slapping images onto cards without getting into what the cards mean and whether those images relate to it or not. And I approached this one thinking, okay, one, Llewellyn said, basically Rider-Waite template in a broad sense. But then how would dragons and the world of dragons relate to each card, and to the meaning of each card? And what would that, how would that come through? Which is one of the reasons I think there are maybe 4 people in the whole deck, lots of other animals, but because I think dragons are in much more in the natural world. But I wanted to keep people out of it, as opposed to, I noticed in previous dragon decks that too often they seem people-centric, and the dragons were sort of accessories or appendages to the people involved. And I definitely wanted this to be dragon-centric.
Yes.
From start to finish. Yeah.
That's what you and me had previously talked about, because we're both dragon people.
Yeah.
And I told you about the one other deck that I had, which I use, which is the Dragon Tarot. Because we had talked about it, I said your deck is my second favorite because it does keep people out of it. Except for those 4 people, or so. And what people don't understand is when you call it a dragon deck, it's not just that it has dragons in it, it's dragon, centered like the way that you have yours.
To work with the dragon energy that is there, yes.
Right, you're not working with people, you're working with the actual dragon energy is what you're working with.
Yeah.
And it's something that, like, for example, we were talking about what was one of those decks that they had coming out that they had the dragons in it. I can't even think of it. It was another dragon deck that came out that they had different types of dragons, because we were talking about how each and every type of dragon that you had, whether it was a Chinese dragon or it was a Western dragon or whatever, you put it so great within its environment that it was just absolutely perfect. And there was one dragon tarot deck that they tried to use the South American dragons, they try to use Egyptian dragons, they try to use Chinese and even the European dragons. And it was such a mismatch because they used it with people as well. And it just so messed up. It has a red border around it. And it's in like several different languages on the card. It's in Spanish, English, French, and it's like, the energy is just,
So, Shawn, how do you wake up one morning and go, you know what the world needs? It needs another tarot deck.
Well, actually, I thank Llewellyn for this. They came to me and asked me to do it, which was at a very good time. It was a rough year for me, and I really needed a project. And they came to me because of my dragon books, which I'd written for them, and did not know at the time that I had any familiarity with the tarot. So, and they said, well, you know, don't worry about the book too much, or don't worry if you don't know the tarot, you have time to learn it. I said, nope, that's fine. You know, I'm familiar. And so they said, okay, these are the parameters. Give us a sense of your concept, and we'll find an artist, which they found Firat was just amazing to work with. And we started working on it. And I would sketch out the cards and very badly and send them off to Firat over in Turkey, which thank goodness for the internet and the cyberspace, that we're not limited to people down the road only. Not that there's anything wrong with the artists on the road. And cats, sit. And then he would fill out the sketch and do his own work, and then we'd do it back and forth with his drawings and his full design cards and so on. And 3 years later, have a tarot deck. So
what was that process like? I mean, obviously you had a picture in your head as you sketched it out and you get the rendering. Mm-hmm. Was there a lot of precision on getting that image exactly the way that it needed to be, or were there points where he reimagined things back at you and there was compromise? What was that like?
Well, he was very precise. For me, it was like he was able to get inside my head and see what I had imagined, which was wonderful. If there were little things that would be tweaked, they were usually very minor. But in terms of specifics, like the specific horns or flare of a dragon, that was his. That was, I wanted him to be a collaborator completely in terms of that, and put his sense of dragons into it as well. As long as we kept the symbolism and so on. So it was a real collaboration there. Sit down.
Was he already known for dragon art?
Not really. They found my editors over at Llewellyn found him on DeviantArt, of all places. He is known as a fantasy artist and what I call concept artist. And he'd done a few dragons, but there was just something about his work that seemed to fit. And so we sort of did a trial couple of cards, and I said, this is wonderful. And Llewellyn said, you're right, this is wonderful. And then we took it from there. But a lot of his work is fantasy realms and goblins and ghouls and knights and whatnot. A few dragons, but not that many until now.
Yeah, lots of dragons now.
Lots of them. And he was able to also to get the global scope of the dragons in terms of keeping the Asian dragons and the European dragons and the feathered dragons from the South American feathered dragons, which I thought was very important, especially in the major arcana, since the minors needed a certain, not sameness, but familiarity. So I kept those all Western dragons. but in terms of the majors, they could go across the world since dragons are so ubiquitous. It would be unfair to them not to represent all the different kinds of dragons that are there.
Right. So one of my favorite tarot decks personally is the Robin Wood deck. It's one that I use all the time. And one of the things that drew me to that deck was the way that the artist subtly reinterpreted some of the cards in ways that were even more connected with the way I viewed that symbol. Like judgment and the devil and that kind of thing are twisted around in a way that gets past the medieval perspective of that idea and represents it in a way that I really relate to. And I see some little differences in approaches with your cards. I went ahead and brought them all out so I could I could flip through them while we're talking. So were there any cards that you sat down with and went, okay, now I get to show what this really means, and that you especially enjoyed reinterpreting?
I'd say probably yes. The queens and the sires, the kings, which I call the sires. In fact, I think all the court cards were particularly fun for me, representing a real sense of a dragon family, as it were, from through the ages, the young in the page, the adolescent in the knight, the queen, of course, being maternal in a dragonish way, and the sires, with each sire having a little dragon with them, and to continue on that sense of family, that teaching the next generation. So that was definitely fun. Of the majors, I'm trying to think. I like Justice. Justice was fun for me, the sense of balancing prey and predator, that both are equal. Yeah, with the mouse and the owl. And some of the other ones.
Well, I'm flipping through them now.
Some that stick out for you?
So the Empress and the Emperor go into the what you were talking about that sort of maternal aspect
For the Empress, yeah.
For the Empress, and that sort of lordly aspect of the Emperor. Because when I come to these cards, they came up a lot with what I was doing last night. I talk about the idea that the Empress is the queen over queens, and the Emperor is the king over kings, and the Keenan's got to handle themselves, right? Yeah. You don't want me to come over there. Right? So there's a heightened aspect of fatherliness and motherliness, almost exaggerated there, and I think that you demonstrate that pretty well here, especially with the Empress. I do feel that nurturing aspect here, with all of the different kinds of animals. I'm intrigued that you decided to make it different animals, as though she is sort of, queen of the jungle, as opposed to just dragon imagery there.
Yeah, well, I guess that's the way I view the Empress, that she transcends species, and also dragons in their place in the natural order. They may be top of the food chain, but that means they're also very responsible for everyone else as well. Like in the Six of Pentacles, for example, the dragon, it's fine. He's got his bounty and he's very contented. It's been a good year, and he can be generous with the bears and give them the extra, and make sure that they make it through the winter and survive as well as he does. Yeah.
Right.
And for those more familiar with the Rider-Waite, this is the one where you have the two people receiving money from a wealthy person. And it's interesting that in the imagery on that, something that I've observed and started to incorporate in readings is we don't really know what's going on there. There's one guy that appears to have some tattered robes, and the other guy doesn't look so bad. We don't know if this is charity, alms, or if there's wages. The main thing is the generosity. Right. And that the one handing out the wealth is not unhappy about this. And I think that's very well represented there. There's a pleasure that you see in the dragon and the bears partaking. Yeah. Which is important. So I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the major arcana that I've been flipping through. There are a few that I think are interesting. But for now, we're going to take a little bit of a break. We're going to hear a word from our sponsors. This is stuff you need to know. And then we will be right back with Shawn MacKenzie.
I'm Saul Ravencraft, co-host of Witch Hat Chats. I understand just how confusing and chaotic it can be to open to a path of magic and manifestation. Everything seems to turn on its head. I want to be an ally as you find the way upon your path. My studio setup will let us do readings, coaching, and exploration virtually, just as though you were sitting across the table from me. One size does not fit all, and we will work together to craft the right approaches to build your practice, your confidence, and your power using the tools of divination, magical works, and spirit connections. It's never too late to embrace a new path and emerge empowered. Go to TexasMojoMan.com and select Contact to begin. There's a message now. Let's get started working on your very good fortune.
Welcome back to Witch Chat Chats, and Saul and I are talking with Shawn MacKenzie. Woo-hoo! All right. So, Shawn knows that I have the original Dragon Tarot, and I told her that although I love her deck, it's my second favorite. It's not my first. My first is still Dragon Tarot, but you know, she is honored to be the second favorite.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's awesome. So we're going to kind of compare the two because she's heard of it, but she hasn't seen it. So of course, everybody knows that when I look at a tarot deck, I always look at the death card. If I love the death card, then I'm usually going to buy the deck. Because the death card is the Scorpio card.
Mm-hmm.
It is. So everybody knows this is her death card. And this is really a unique death card. I have not seen a dragon death card like this. This is absolutely awesome. Now that's hers. But this is the Dragon Tarot death card.
Uh-huh.
So if you kind of look at both of them side by side, can I get these in side by side? You can see how different they are, you know. So what do you think about that, Shawn?
Interesting. I guess when I was thinking of the death card, I was thinking of the dragon as essentially a deity, a death god, as it were, since dragons are so cosmic anyway. And there was something insubstantial about that. I didn't want him to be too real.
You don't want to be too scary? I mean, this stuff is scary as hell, you know, it can't be, right?
But that
We got tail. We see tail.
we got lots of tail. No.
Hey, so show them the tail, man.
The death was real, as opposed to, I was thinking of death as also as real as opposed to being skeletal. The skeletal ideal of death as a personification didn't work for me in terms of dragons. That was just a little too linked into the human concept of death. Thinking of Terry Pratchett's death and so on, with the long bony fingers and whatnot. But the death dragon would be have a reality to him in terms of flesh, but also somehow be more what's the word I'm looking for? Have reality, but be less substance and more sense of him. Hence the smoky quality to him. That he comes and he goes.
Right. Yeah, I kind of sense what you're trying to say. It's kind of like a smoke and mirrors type of thing.
Yeah, he's there, but you won't really see his. He won't knock down the forest the way another dragon might. He'll move through it, sort of thing.
Yeah, I thought that was, interesting that you kind of took with this. The reason why I like that.
The other thing that I think is intriguing about your version of the death card, and it's trying to get a clearer picture here. That may be as good as I can get. but the what we see here, visited by death, none of those are dragon skeletons.
No.
Death is overcoming something else.
Yeah. He does touch on dragons too, but they're I don't know, they're longer lived than the rest of us.
Right.
Yeah. Which in a way also goes to my sense of dragons. Said there's a reason there are very few dragon skeletons around, which is that when dragons die, basically their bones disappear. That's in the real world, but so.
You do.
Yeah.
So you said that one of your favorite cards was the Justice card.
Mm,
So, okay, this is your Justice card,
right.
which is nice and pretty. All right. So that's your Justice card.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here is their version of the Justice card. Kind of similar, you know,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
but it has more of a Greek, you know, type of thing.
Right.
behind it.
Right.
But I still like your Justice card a little bit better. You know,
Mm-hmm.
than theirs.
Well, dragons are justice. I mean, they don't
Right.
they don't really need to make a show of it. You know, it's in their nature. You don't cross them. They don't.
Yeah.
It's like they don't need to hold a sword because they've got fangs and fire and claws. The sword's just,
Right.
yeah.
You know, it's a thing. It's just like, you know, you don't want to meddle in the affairs of dragons because they can eat you because you're good with ketchup, right?
Exactly.
Right? You know, and the thing about it is what really gets me about the difference between the cards is one, on yours you have prey and the predator on yours. On this one, you have a feather and you have the sun on the others.
Hmm.
You know,
Air and fire. Yeah.
yeah, air and fire. So you still have opposites,
Mhm.
but it's like, I don't know. It just seems to bring a different type of energy
Mhm.
to me. And like I said, I still like yours because yours has got this great, big, beautiful blue dragon. You know, but I just thought that was kind of a little bit different and I'm just, plus it's got a purple background, and who doesn't love purple? I mean, really,
True.
really, you know? So I thought that was kind of different. As you said that you like the Justice card. But the Hanging Dragon, I love the
Hanging dragon.
Okay, so your Hanging Dragon, I love this because it looks more like a vampire.
Feather dragon, right? Yeah.
And the cheetah is trying to freak with it, and I'm like, really,
Yeah.
want to be eaten today? like, come on, right, okay. So that's your version, and then
Well,
here,
what cat can't resist a feather toy, right?
right, and then this is their version.
Darker, much darker.
Mm-hmm.
This way. Mm-hmm.
Now this one is sleeping because it ate somebody.
Hmm.
You know, this is the one in which, you know, it meddled in the affairs of dragons. So it really ate. I thought that was fun. I mean, this is the before, and this is the after.
After.
So we talked earlier about points where you make use of people. This is one of the cards where you do, and that is the Chariot. And it's interesting to me that you have the person riding the dragons. The dragons appear to be subservient here.
Well, dragons are never subservient. Dragons are guiding him. My sense is the Yellow Emperor knows that he has to be the good steward, or the dragons will leave him. They are yeah. It's interesting though that card has I've heard some people who got really offended by that card, saying, how dare you have anyone driving dragons, having dragons in harness and so on. But it's dragons serve at their own will, not right. at anyone else's.
Much like cats.
Yes, and if you mess up, they will leave you. But if you eat you. But if not, then they're there to guide you where you need to go and to be helpers along that path. And don't hit the computer.
So here's another one featuring a person out of the major arcana. And this is strength. And I do apologize that I can't make the image really clearer than that, but I think people can tell what's going on there. And here the human is exhibiting the strength, the way we're used to it in the Rider Waite, pacifying the dragon gently. Any comments about what went into developing this image?
My thinking on this image was that strength has a lot of trust involved, that it goes both ways, that it's a matter of laying down one's defenses and trusting that well, in this case, trusting that you won't get eaten. And the dragon, in turn, trusting that she won't pick up her sword and try and hurt him. So it's a two-way street in that sense.
Right.
And, I think I'm going to mention here, and I know Shawn would agree with me, dragons don't trust easily.
No.
They don't trust humans, period, most of us. It's something that...
Good reason, yeah.
Yeah, they do have good reasons. And if they start to work with you, it's something that has to be built over time. And they usually start with children most of the time. They rarely start with you as an adult.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and tell you that, because both of us, we started when we were children working with them. Even if we didn't know it at the time that we were going to grow up and we were actually going to do this. I don't think I was going to ever grow up and think, hey, I'm going to be casting spells and I'm going to create Witchcraft and I'm going to talk to damn people. I don't think I would ever going to, do that. But they are very, very particular on who they talk to.
Absolutely. I mean, they require of us a certain openness and a certain imagination that I think kids have in abundance, and too often it gets lost as we grow up. But kids connect with dragons. Kids understand dragons. It's that kids understand that dragons are not just big and scary and out there to eat you, but that they're protectors. They're funny. They are whimsical. They fly. I mean, when you're a kid, the idea of flying on a dragon, it's one of those inspirational sort of things. That's just, yes, of course you want a dragon.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you want to fly on one. Who, I mean, what child doesn't want to get on the back of one and say, let's fly? To me, I'm like, the hell with the broom. Let's get a dragon. I mean, a broom you can break. You can't break a dragon. Shit. No, let's get him a dragon. The hell with that. So, one of the cards that I really wanted to point out in the major is that you use the universe instead of the world.
Mm-hmm.
So, number one, I wanted to know, why do you use the universe instead of the world? So that's a question of mine.
Okay. Well, I was thinking of the Fool's Journey. If you start the old sense of from the ground up, the universe is as cosmic as you can get, and I'm a firm believer in cosmic dragons. That there's this. I mean, they've been creators and destroyers, deities since the beginning of time. And for me, the sense of the completion that just keeps going and going and going is the universe in the dragon's eye. That is the best ending place I could find, that it's that we're all star stuff, that we are a part of the universe. The dragon is bigger than us, but the dragon is also the universe. That, and the world just didn't, it seemed too small.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I agree with that, because we have to expand more than that, because I do like this better versus the world. I do like that, even though I do love this card too.
Yeah.
But I do like this better because, to me, it's the way you expand things, because dragons, they go beyond this world.
Yeah.
They go beyond this time period. They go beyond this phase of the world. Right. Because they're the ones that taught me that time is not linear. It's fluid.
Right.
And they taught me so much about time magic and all kinds of different things that we don't have time to get into. So, and it's so much more,
Absolutely.
And, all right, Shawn. So thank you for coming on to the show.
It has been a delight. Thank you for having me.
So let our watchers know, where can they reach you at, hon?
Well, I'm on Facebook, author Shawn MacKenzie. And I can be found, let's see, my website is mackenziesdragonsnest.com. And I'm roundabout, and I can also be reached through my publisher through Llewellyn.com. And all my books and the tarot are available from Llewellyn and Amazon and bookstores all over the place.
All right, hon. Well, thank you for being on the show, and you have an absolute fabulous week, and we'll get together later.
You too. Absolutely. Take care, both of you. Thank you, Saul. Thank you, Nikki. Bye.
We need to take the time to go to our wonderful sponsors and hear their amazing messages for us. And then we'll be right back with our Witches. The Witching Hour is here, and new magical products arrive at Moonlight Potions and Charms. And what appears during the magical hour? Our mysterious triple goddess Hecate key necklace comes in 2 sizes, perfectly aligned with her wheel so her devotees can find their way through the darkness. The handsome hand of God statues, believed to be protective talismans of luck, fertility, abundance, and good health, come in black or white. One of the best ways to bring your ancestors with you no matter where you go is our traveling ancestor altar on the go. They come in 3 sizes, small, medium, and large, perfect for all of your needs. They include candles, an oil, a toy for the little ones who passed on, and so much more to honor their beloved dead. And our Papa Legba key necklace are perfect for the devotees of the King of the Crossroads. Comes in 2 sizes, each one specifically prayed over and dedicated to Papa Legba himself. And appearing for the first time, Baron Sam D and Mama Bridget, Altar on the Go limited edition. Yes, you can take your altar to the cemetery with you. How cool is that? The traveling altar is complete with top hats, coffin nails, a cross from Mama Bridget, and so much more with room for you to add your own items. So show Baron Sam D and Mama Bridget the altar perfect for them. And don't forget, our Barebone Trio, See No Evil, Hear No Evil, Speak No Evil skeletons have returned. There is so much more in our Wicked store to help you to embrace the power of your own magic. So come on in to Moonlight Potions and Charms at www.moonlightpotionscharms.com and discover the wicked things that ignite the magical passion in you. Anybody can tell you what is on a tarot or oracle card. What matters is seeing beyond what others may not be able to see and help the client to uncover what lies in the mist. What do readings from Moonlight Potions and Charms do? Wednesday I did this ancestor reading, and it was an amazing reading. And it was a detailed reading. And I remember talking to this customer's ancestors, and it was so delightful, and he wanted some questions to be answered about the magic in his family because he didn't know. And his family was mostly like most of our families are. You know how everything is like hush hush when it comes to the magic in his family. And he wanted to know who can he actually talk to about the history of the magic in his family. And I was able to give him specifically who he can go to talk to about that. What particular deity he can actually go to be able to help him with this. And it was just an amazing reading, and talking to his ancestors. They were such a delight, and they told me so much about this customer. It was just an absolutely wonderful, wonderful reading for him. And I was just so happy to be able to give him this wonderful reading. It's really amazing to be able to give people these readings, these products that's really going to help them, and be able to give back to the community, because this is what Moonlight Potions and Charms is about. We want to help you to embrace the power of your own magic. That is what we are all about, is to help you to do that. Book now and allow our wonderful staff to take care of your spiritual reading needs. And there is so much more. in our Wicked store to help you to embrace the power of your own magic. So come on in to Moonlight Potions and Charms at www.moonlightpotionscharms.com and discover the wicked things that ignite the magical passion in you.
And welcome back to Witch Hat Chats. What a wonderful conversation with Shawn MacKenzie and dragons. Just fun stuff. I know how much you love dragons, Nikki. So this must have been perfect for you.
Oh yeah, I know. And she had to be dragged away.
Which is sometimes the case.
All right, so for today's Witch's Cabinet, we are going to be talking about dragon's blood. Woo! So, Saul, what has been your personal experience with dragon's blood?
Well, the first thing that I wanna say is dragon's blood is one of those beautiful examples. When you hear about potions and things like Eye of Newt and all of that kind of thing, those are colloquial names for herbs. For example, Eye of Newt, I believe, is a kind of mustard seed. Mm-hmm. And there's a database and places where you can look this kind of stuff up. And find out what those names were, but they aren't literally, we're not literally talking about dragon's blood. We're talking about an herb, a substance that was known as dragon's blood. You know, a lot of the things that we deal with are similar to that. When you start dealing with potions and incense and that kind of thing, old recipes, old information will seem a little weird to you if you don't understand that there's a translation needed.
Yes, but dragon's blood comes out of the draconic tree, which is a palm tree. And there's different varieties of it. One of the varieties actually looks like a dragon. Hence the name.
How fun is that?
The dragon's blood tree. And it is a red resin that comes out of the tree. And from what I was reading a few minutes ago, because I wanted to kind of brief up on it, because it's one of the herbs that I use. I try not to use it too much. Because it is getting to the point where it's becoming quite rare. And as most people know, it can be quite expensive too. So I use it very rarely, but it's one of the trees that use very little rainfall. And the longest tree of it that has actually lived is 250 years. 250 years. Can you imagine that? 250
right.
years.
And yet that's kind of young for what some other trees do. So
right. You know, they're used in so many different ways. And I'm going ahead and tell you right now, Witch Hat Chats, we are not experts when it comes to any medical or psychological information, okay? So do not take this as medical or psychological word for word. You still need to go see your doctor. You still need to go see your psychiatrist and all of those other professionals to make sure you go do that for anything that we say right now. We're just telling you of some of the things that dragon's blood has been used for in the past. This is stuff that you find in books. You can also find this on the internet as well. But like I said, you still need to go get professional advice and use the professionals what they tell you to use. because you don't know what's going to be a good thing for your body and for any other medications that it may be mixture with as well.
Right.
So you don't want to screw up anything else. Trust me. But dragon's blood, number one, it is a resin, which means it usually comes in chunks, unless you get the oil, which is a different thing. But it's red. And I always try to get it in a powder form because I have a hard time pushing those chunks. I'm just don't have the ability to do it with my hands because I have tendonitis. And so I always try to get it in powder form, which is hard to be able to do. But it's a lot more better for me, especially when I'm fixing candles, when I'm doing other things with it. Sometimes I do use the chunks as well. But what do you use dragon's blood for in your magical working, Saul?
Well, I haven't used it for a lot of different things. Where I first began to work with it was I was doing cleansings of space out at Sherwood, and I had been using frankincense for that, and I ran out. And the place on site that had incense did not have the frankincense, but she suggested the dragon's blood would work well for that. And I said, sure. So I got that, and I did like it. I did like it. And I've used it as fairly regularly as just sort of a general cleansing incense for space and comfort and clearing. So that's mostly how I've worked with it, as an incense form. Now, you say that you've used it with candles, but I'm guessing that's not just clearing candles, that it's been for other purposes.
Yeah, it's been for fixing candles, which fixing means you put it in the candles as you're fixing them. I've been putting them in candles. Basically, when it comes to dragon's blood has been used for protection. It's been used for banishing, just like Saul has said. It's also been used for cleansing, forsaking. It's been used for healing. It's been used for personal empowerment as well, especially if you want to add a kick to your spells. You want to put a little bit of dragon's blood in there. If it's also been added for love spells as well. Ooh. Put that little love spell in there. Did that. Some medical properties that, and I haven't used these for medical properties. Some people have used them for inflammation. And I'm talking about like salves, stuff like that. You can find that stuff on the internet, and so many other kinds of medical things that they have used it for. And I didn't know this, but some people have actually used it for an insect repellent. I'm like, what? I didn't know that either. So I was kind of, surprised with that. But I've also used, mostly, I try to use the oil. It's what I usually kind of like. But when it comes to the dragon's blood oil, you need to really ask about the ingredients. Is it pure dragon's blood? Because a lot of times it's not. Okay. Some people actually make it out of cinnamon, and they claim it's dragon's blood. No. I'm sorry. If you're going to have dragon's blood oil, it has to be pure dragon's blood. Okay? You can't have cinnamon in there and say it's dragon's blood. No. That's cinnamon oil. It's not dragon's blood oil. Okay. So when you ordering it online or if you're in the store, you need to ask them, does this have cinnamon in it? Does it have anything other than dragon's blood in it? And if they don't know, do not buy it. Okay. I'm giving you that warning now. Because I'm the type of person that if it says dragon's blood, I want it to be a pure thing. Unless I want something that's mixed with it. Okay. If I want something that's mixed with it, then that's one thing. But if I want something that's pure, then I'm going to ask, especially when it's something like that. Because some people, they do try to do that to you. And it's like, no. Especially if you go home and you open it up. And if it smells anything other than dragon's blood, take it back. Take it back and tell them, say, listen, this doesn't smell like dragon's blood. Or if you've ordered it, you need to email the shop owner and say, listen, this doesn't smell like what dragon's blood is. And make sure you know what dragon's blood smells like. Okay? Please. Make sure you know what it smells like before you tell the shop owner, give a shop owner a complaint. Because as shop owners, we have a lot on our table and we really want to be able to give our customers the best that we can. So make sure you have all your ducks in a row before you start bringing us a complaint. All right. But that's one of the things that I like to be able to point out to people is when you are actually buying an oil, make sure you know what it smells like before you buy it. Okay? Jeez. Don't sit here and turn around and tell me that this thing is not the smell that you want because you don't understand what rose smells like. Really? Or you don't understand what rosemary smells like? My God, what the hell? I've had people to tell me this ain't lavender. And I'm like, do you know what lavender smells like? Have you actually smelled a lavender plant? No. Well, then how the hell do you know what lavender smells? Really? Okay. So, anyway. All right. So, is there anything else you want to talk about on Dragon's Blood?
No, I think that pretty much covers it there.
All right. That's all for our story today.
Sometimes we're efficient. Well, we got to spend some extra time with Shawn on some of those cards, which I think was definitely worthwhile.
It was. She's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So join us next week when Saul and I will be chatting with Laura Tempest Zakloff. So ladies, these are our rights that no one gives or takes away from us because we are not property. I want to say it again. We are not property. So make sure you let the men know and understand this, okay? And make sure you vote and you tell these slave owner wannabes out of office. You kick them out of office and you don't let the new ones in, okay? You don't want them in. No. We don't want that. And spell the vote. We got to spell the vote. Got to do it. So, make sure you get your vaccinations and your boosters. And we got to support each other. We have to support each other. And keep your fuzzy babies, your family and friends, and yourself safe. And have an absolute magical week.
Well, I know some people who like to chat. I think they're witches, how about that? And every Sunday at 12 o'clock. And if you're hurting, they're willing to talk. Nikki, Kirby with that black stone. I agree, Evermoving We Rise. Life and soul with a beautiful mind. I give you blessings under moonlight. I know some people who like to chat. I think they're witches, how about that? And every Sunday at 12 o'clock. And if you're hurting, they're willing to talk.